NEC issues order suspending tariff hike for 14 days. P&ID, Nigeria's foreign reserves swell by $200 million. Oil prices slip as rising cases of COVID-19 infections moving into the northern winter spur concerns about fuel demand. And on the program today, we shall be taking a look at the impact and possible challenges of the whistleblower policy as federal government recovers 700 billion naira through the policy. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. So good to know you're always tuned to Business Express. We begin with cheering news that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission on Tuesday night issued an order suspending the September 1, 2020 hike in electricity tariff for 14 days. Labor unions and the federal government had reached a truce on Sunday night to reverse the hike in electricity tariffs for 14 days, a development that prompted the halt of a nationwide strike by labor. The regulator issued the order on Tuesday and said the order shall take effect from 28 September 2020 and shall cease to have effect on the 11th of October 2020. It ordered the 11 power distribution companies across the country to abide by the order. The Commission also stated that all tariffs for end-use customers and market obligations of the DISCOs during the 14-day period suspension shall be computed on the basis of rates applicable as of August 31, 2020. The NEC chairman, James Momo, and the Commissioner Legal Licensing and Compliance, Dafe Akempenye, signed the order. Nigeria's foreign reserves received a $200 million boost on Tuesday, September 29, 2020, following the order of the London Commercial Court instructing the release of the $200 million guarantee put in place as security for the stay of execution granted Nigeria. For the appeal filed against the judgment for the execution of the arbitral award of $10 billion in favor of Messrs. Process and Industrial Development Limited P&ID, the court rejected the request of P&ID to increase the security to $400 million and instead ordered cost of £70,000 against P&ID. It will be recalled that same court earlier in September 2020 had also granted another cost of £1.5 million against P&ID. Speaking on the outcome, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said the release, which is an accretion into the reserves, will further enhance the nation's management of the exchange rate of its domestic currency, the naira, while ensuring monetary and price stability. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has called for the reallocation of unused International Monetary Fund reserve assets, also known as special drawing rights, to support recovery efforts in developing economies. The president, represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, stated this Tuesday at the virtual high-level meeting of heads of state and government on financing the 2030 agenda for sustainable development in the era of COVID-19 and beyond.
Excellencies, in addition, we support the call for debt relief for developing countries and the extension of the debt suspension initiative until 2021, as well as the granting of commercial debt relief where needed. We also call for enhanced global liquidity, including through the allocation of unused special drawing rights currently held by developed countries.
Also, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring Nigerians that his administration will continue within the limits of resources to judiciously utilize the nation's commercial and industrial hubs towards boosting trade, generating wealth, and creating employment opportunities for sustainable economic growth. This was while virtually inaugurating the Itakpe-Ajaokuta Warri rail line and auxiliary facility yard at the recently named Goodluck Jonathan Railway Complex in Agbo, Delta State.
It is an important link for the country's economy as a central rail line. This government has also approved to link this line further from Itape to Abuja, thereby connecting the northern zone of the country and also extending southwards to link the Warri port.
In another development, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says there is need for an expansion of the scope of the whistleblower policy to include issues of public safety, security, gross mismanagement of the rights of people, and waste of resources. The Vice President made the call at the National Conference on Whistleblower Policy organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget, and National Planning.
Corruption is for the good of our nation.
That because information is provided, the whistleblower is at risk. So this bill, when passed into law, will provide added protection for the whistleblower.
The National Assembly has become conversant with matrix of corruption and is then able to put together a robust set of legal framework to criminalize all manifestations of graft in and out of government.
The Director General Bureau of Public Enterprises, Alex Oko, says the agency has missed its target of actualizing 19 projects this year due to coronavirus. Oko, while speaking in Abuja, pointed out the miss was due to the absence of 3 to 4 calendar months of the privatization calendar, but insists the health sector reform is one Nigerians should watch out for.
We're trying to create an environment where citizens of the country do not have to pay out of pocket to access, decent health care. It will be a single payer system, and through the various revenue streams that we're going to be able to access and fund that particular program with. Nigerians, the generality of Nigerians can go for treatment in any of the primary, secondary, or tertiary healthcare institutions without having to pay.
Let's look at 2020.
He called for rededication by all citizens to the Nigeria project in building a desired economy for all. Now, the first U.S. presidential debate between incumbent President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden could be weighing on investor sentiment worldwide, with the two constantly exchanging sharp remarks in a face-off challenge. Bosede Abel has more on global market update.
The global market has a mixed reaction in early trading of 30th September over the first face-to-face presidential debate for the forthcoming U.S. election. Asia stocks opened mixed as investors reacted to the release of China's manufacturing activity data for September. Hang Seng Index rose 0.79%, while Nikkei lost 1.5%, and Shanghai Composite Index also dropped 0.2%. For European stocks, investors reacted to the presidential debate and the investment landscape amid the coronavirus pandemic. In the United States, the debate raised uncertainty around the election as markets headed for its first negative month since March. Africa stocks also reacted to the debates. Nairobi's All-Share, South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, and Tunisia's Tunidex depreciated, while Namibia's overall index topped 0.15% and Ghana's GSA Composite marginally positive.
At the close of trade this Wednesday, the NSE All-Share Index appreciated by 0.85% to end the day positive. The All-Share Index gained 26,837 points, with traders exchanging 322.7 million shares valued at 4.039 billion naira. in 4,046 deals. Market capitalization reached the 14 trillion naira mark. Sterling Bank, Access Bank, and Zenith Bank were the most active stocks for the day. Business Express will take a short break now. When we return, we'll have our discussion and we'll look at commodity prices. Commodity watchers say this is a good time to invest in gold as gold prices are shooting above the $2,000 per ounce for the first time. Gold is trading around $1,884. How are other commodities faring on the domestic and global markets? Time now to go over to the currency markets to see how the Naira is trading against other major currencies this Wednesday. So we couldn't get our guests, as we earlier told you. However, we have our special correspondent, Leah Katumba Batunde, who will be talking about the whistleblower policy. Welcome, Leah, to Business Express as our guest today.
Thank you, and so nice to be on the other side.
I'm sure you will like it by the end of the program. So tell us, the conference on the whistleblower policy just ended yesterday.
Sure.
Can you tell us what you feel about the conference and the takeaways possibly from that conference?
Well, I would say for starters, it was a good one. The whistleblower policy came in as an offshoot of the Buhari administration's quest to engender transparency, fiscal prudence, and every other thing that came with that office. And by 2016, of course, it fully took off. And yes, the conference is coming at the right time because just as it was observed, people are beginning to shy away from volunteering information, and which for me is one of those things that I feel government will really need to work hard on, that is to give protection now, a good cover to those who are these ones offering the information. For instance, if I'm going to come and whistle against you, what will be, not just what will I be gaining, but of course I will think of my safety, the safety of my immediate family, and of course the safety of my business or enterprise as well.
Okay, there have been cases where some whistleblowers have gone foul, being that there were errors in their reportage. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it's quite unfortunate for that, because you find in some instances, I don't like your face, or I don't like your style, or I don't like the divide you fall on, and then I come and volunteer a wrong information about you. Now, here is it. People get bad names for no just cause. And then, as they say, it's very easy to pull down, but so difficult to build. So now if I've spent quite a time to build a reputation for myself, to build maybe a business empire for myself, and then somebody somewhere just sits and decides, hey, it's time to pull it down, I think it doesn't go well. And of course, that also is not helpful to the investigating agencies now, like the ICPC, the EFCC, the DSS and all that. So when you're now having to say, okay, who do we believe, who don't we believe? And then what are the punitive measures to ensure that these things don't happen? And I'm glad that the government's already working towards that. The feelers we're having, it's on the positive side that when people volunteer information that is wrong, then you get to pay for misleading the agencies.
All right, the federal government has recovered about, or it has saved about $700 billion from the whistleblower policy.
True.
What do you make of this achievement by the federal government?
Well, I think it's a milestone, but it is not as expected, because for me, I was expecting more from that. So which also boils down to what is EFCC doing, what is ICPC doing, and all the sister agencies that are involved, the financial fraud unit, what are they doing in ensuring that monies that go out. And of course, we will now be looking for the looking out for the judiciary now to see how they can fasten these cases instead of them lingering in the courts. But I think they can actually do much more than that.
Okay, how would you describe interagency collaboration between some of these agencies you mentioned, the ICPC, the EFCC? You know, you've been on the business desk for long. Do you think interagency collaboration is doing well?
I think for starters, yes, they're doing well. Is it what Nigerians are expecting? I doubt it. I think they can do much more, because we're having this sort of interagency rivalry that happens everywhere, by the way, not just here. We have it all over the world that happens. But if we see some form of deeper synergy, when we don't have agencies having to drag over issues, to bicker over situations, when they work together, when there's a harmony, for instance, and it now boils down to the issue of sharing data. And I'm glad that Nigeria is also a signatory to that. If we're sharing data with other countries in terms of financial crimes, then it means that we can also share data locally now in between agencies. So when we're sharing data, we're sharing communication, and then we're on the same database, which is one of those things that government is doing. That for me, I really like the fact that, okay, they are harmonizing our data now. You have your passports, your driver's license, your national identity number, and every other thing, your BVN in one place. So if it pops up at this agency, and then you need something from the other agency, I think both agencies can actually work together instead of working in silos, because at the end of it all, national interest comes first.
All right, before I let you go, Leah, the Vice President is talking about expanding the scope of the whistleblower policy. What do you think needs to be done to, make Nigerians more aware of how they can come up to blow some whistles?
Okay, I think it's a good one. Also, it's a good one when we're talking about expanding the scope. Now, what are we expanding? It will be the first, communication.
Okay.
How aware are Nigerians? What do they know about giving out information? Then you look at the issue of trust. Do we trust the authorities to actually volunteer this information to them? Do we trust that what we're telling them is going to guarantee our safety? And still on trust, if it is agreed that whoever blows a whistle gets 10%, I mean, for crying out loud, once the monies are recovered, give the person the 10%. And then when these people are giving their testimonies, of course, it's going to spiral and it's going to give out more credibility on what the government is doing. And of course, I would also, in my opinion now, let's not just look at the federal agencies.
Okay.
Let's look at the subnationals. We have the states, the local government, 774. And then we also have the public sector who do business with the government agencies. For instance, if you're taking a contract and you do not fulfill the terms of agreement, I think a whistle should be blown at you for doing that. That's my opinion. And not just a whistle. You should pay dearly for not executing what you signed to do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leah Katung Babatunde. We've been speaking to our correspondent, Leah Katung Babatunde, on the whistleblower policy. And with that discussion, we've come to the end of this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube and on the NTA's YouTube channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. And don't forget to use the hashtag BizX. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I am Muplang Dakok saying stay safe.